All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June Planning Commission meeting. We'll start off with opening prayer by Commissioner DeArmond and followed by pledge allegiance by myself. Please stand.
Please bow with me. God, we thank you for the privilege to come together tonight to represent and serve our community. We just ask for your wisdom and guidance as we consider the matters before us tonight. Please bless this community and our families. We ask for your protection, body, mind, and spirit. It's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's go ahead and call the Planning Commission meeting to order. Laura, if you would, do roll call, please.
Byrd. Here. Lowe.
Here.
Prater.
Here.
Knack.
Here.
Young.
Here.
O'Gwen.
Here.
Yarman.
Here.
All right, 7-0. We do have a quorum. If I could get acceptance of the meeting minutes from our May Planning Commission meeting or any corrections or additions. Recommend a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by
Second.
Commissioner O'Gwen, second from Prater. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Byrd.
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Knack.
Yes.
DeArmond.
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
O'Gwen.
Yes.
All right, 7-0. Minutes are approved from last meeting. All right, first item of business, Laura.
Preliminary plat, Oak Hill, Terra Verde LLC. Okay, so this is the preliminary plat that was tabled last month to be brought back before you for this month. As you can see in the staff report, again, this is just over 78 acres located on Highway 5. They are proposing to a preliminary plat for about 212 residential lots. As you can see in the staff report, there are some comments that are still outstanding, mainly the drainage comments. There has been, since the staff report has been sent out, I did receive some easement information on the overhead power from First Electric. And then I did receive some information from RDOT regarding the left turn lane proposed for the south driveway I believe the applicant is proposing to remove that left turn lane. He can speak on that note due to the site distance not being met on Highway 5 existing as it is and what the RDOT is proposing. The applicant is here to speak on this again, as well as on the drainage comments. We do have a representative from HAF if you have any questions on those drainage comments.
All right, thank you, Laura. Commissioners have any questions for the staff report or Laura? All right, applicant here, want to come up and speak? And while he's making his way up here, I know there are a lot of folks here from the community interested in this, this item on the agenda for Oak Hill. You guys will all be allowed to speak during the community input section of tonight's agenda. So this is not an official public hearing. This is old business continuation from last meeting. So just want to let everyone know that. All right. Don?
Yes, so when we were here last month and we were tabled, there were two outstanding issues on the drainage report. One was the coefficient of the 0.25, which was brought up, 0.25 that was brought up by HAF that we'd never heard before that meeting. We visited with HAF and Associates, and they suggested a 0.41, which was a little bit higher than the 0.25, and we applied that and addressed that issue in our revised drainage report. And that is detailed in the drainage report and in our responses to that was submitted on June 15th. The second item was the pre-development drainage area map, which we also provided. And then there was a question about the drainage on the Highway 5 side. So those were the three items that we had on the drainage. However, when we received our packet yesterday, which is the one that I believe that you all received last week on Friday, there were 7 new items that we hadn't seen before that are marked as not addressed. However, those weren't provided to us before yesterday. So, and those appear to be comments from the engineer, new comments based upon what we had provided on the 15th. And so, Mr. Corbett's here. He hasn't had a chance to do all the calculations that were requested on there. We do have a response to each of those items. Most of it's general housekeeping issues. But Mr. Corbett can go to that. We did ask for a right turn only exit out of the north and the south. We'd resolved the north issue 2 months ago. On the south one, we, in our revised application or our revised submittal on the 15th, we requested for the south one just to be a right turn exit only. There is not a left turn lane coming out of the neighborhood. The south entrance is a boulevard entrance, which is required by fire code. It has a median in the middle of it. The lanes are required to be extra wide. So in case there's a car broken down under, the fire truck can still get in and out. It's not necessarily a left turn lane as much as it is an extra wide on both sides for fire vehicle, emergency vehicle ingress, egress. Because as Ms. Noble said, the RDOT's still working on their stuff, but since they haven't been able to get their stuff done, we requested just a right turn only out of both, which we've got plenty of sight distance for that south one from the intersection. And then the First Electric, that's actually on the plat. I believe that was an oversight by someone that said that it wasn't on the plat. The plat that we submitted shows, if you zoom in, it shows both the existing line and the future line. First Electric relayed that future line should be online in the next 30 to 60 days, depending on when they get to it. But both lines are shown on there, as well as the easement. The easement for the water line, we haven't received that. The CAD file from Cabot Waterworks, the location of where they're going to move their line. The last time I talked to them about that several months ago, they were waiting for First Electric, and then they'll move theirs. They'll place theirs after First Electric's done with theirs. And as soon as they provide that to us, we will put it on the plat. And so, the questions on the drainage report, Mr. Corbett can answer those. The majority of those, should be easily resolved, with a meeting between, Mr. Corbett and Happen Associates. We did the drainage report previously, addressing the comments that were made at the last meeting. Now we have new comments, that, are just wanting to flesh out some more details, but I don't see Mr. Corbett is the engineer, but we don't believe that that's going to change or impact the drainage. So I'll let Mr. Corbett talk to the details.
Sure. No, I got these right here. So, my name's Chris Corbett. I'm a professional engineer, and we had some new suggestions from Haffen Associates, which should not be a problem. So the way pretend you're a raindrop, okay? And there's a little hump in the middle of this proposed subdivision in the elevations. So we don't have a topo, but when you're looking at that, the full 80 acres, you want to divide those sections based on if a raindrop falls in the middle, where's that raindrop going to go? So you take your pre-development areas and you make them up based on the terrain elevations, right? And so that's where you get your pre-development runoff. We divided that up into 7 different detainage areas or drainage areas. We've directed all of the runoff for post-development runoff into our detention ponds. So you run your calculations on the entire post or pre-development, divide it in your drainage areas, then you get you a pre-development runoff, and then you come up with a design, and then you use those same drainage basins that you looked at in the pre-development zone, in the pre-development plat, to calculate what it's going to do after you develop it. So based on, if you're a raindrop, where does it go? And then as you decide on how much flow that's going to be, we used a 25-year flood, once in 25 years, whereas the city of Cabot only has a code requirement for a 10-year rain event. And based on those calculations, I used the rational method. Haffen Associates has proposed that I use the modified rational method. It's not a problem. The modified rational method can give you volumes of water versus a flow of water. The rational method, you get to look behind the curtains here, right? It's a scientific wild ass guess. That's what we're doing. But this was developed in 1975. And then you develop your time of concentrations with a program called TR55. Once you get your time of concentrations, you find out your intensities from the NOAA, from the National Oceanic Association. They give the rain intensities for 1 year, 2 year, 10 year, 5 year, 25 year, 50 year, and 100-year flood zones. Flooding based on historical rain data. So once you take your time of concentrations, you pick out an intensity. It's a very simple formula from the rational method. Q is equal to CIA. Those units are come out in cubic feet per second. You take your pre-development flow and your post-development flow, and that delta is what you're worried about. Because obviously, after you develop it, you've got impenetrable or non-permeable surfaces, roofs, streets, stuff like that. That raindrop is going to act differently versus on a forest or a land. And so my initial assumptions on pre-development flow, we used a coefficient of runoff at 0.55. Haffen Associates reviewed it, looked at it, and they wanted to lower that number, okay, the coefficient of runoff. And what that did is if you use a lower coefficient of runoff for the initial pre-development flow, then you have a higher delta, which is okay. And so we increased, based on that suggestion, we went from a 0.55 to a 0.41 for pre-development flow, which gives us a higher delta of cubic feet per second, okay? And when we ran those numbers, to be safe and to make sure that we're guessing, right? We don't want to flood, we're not going to flood the neighbors. We increased our detainage basin volume. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So if there's a higher delta, if there's a lower runoff, a lower coefficient, then there's a higher delta, which means the detention basins need to be higher or bigger in volume. So you run those calculations and you come up with a flow. And now they want me to use the modified rational method, no problem. That came out about 12 years later, 1986, a modified rational method. And that may or may not increase the post-development runoff. We'll see. And,
Chris,
but I feel confident that it's going to be okay. Any questions on that?
I've got a question.
Yes,
So,
sir.
To land the plane on all this, did it result in deeper detention basins,
That's
bigger pipes? I mean, what is?
So there's two concerns. The sizing of the stormwater pipes. Yeah, go ahead. Oh,
Chairman, I think
yeah,
you're asking,
a bit deeper.
What's the
when
result?
we went from the .55 to the .41.
Yes.
So we made.
What's the
so
physical
that-
result?
So the volume needed to be a little bit larger. So we made them a foot deeper. And then a couple of them were 5 foot wider or 10 foot wider, but there was still adequate room in the locations where we had them for them to fit. And so we didn't have to change the location because
Just the size?
one went from 50 by 90 to 55 by 105. But it's on a 70 by 140 area. So that was negligible. We've still got plenty of buffer around it. And then we went from 5 foot to 6 foot, but with a foot freeboard, so it's really only 5 feet. So
Okay. Yeah, that's what I
So
don't.
Yeah, there's been some changes made.
But
based on-
again, they were minuscule. They weren't,
Right.
we didn't have to put in new basins or change anything dramatically because it was a minor tweak.
Right.
That's right.
I think that's what you were.
That's
Did
right.
that
That's
answer
what,
the
that's,
question?
yes,
So
that's
we
what.
made some changes based on that. And then that was in the drainage report, and you use your soil types, and you use a chart to get, and there's a range, and we weren't at the bottom or at the top. We agreed on the middle part. And then from there, they have some other suggestions here. They want to model the volume of water in and out of the detention ponds. That's not a problem. That's some of their comments in red here. Provide those results, provide the details, and then look at the discharge. Now, I've driven the site several times. As a matter of fact, I drove it during the rain event Monday. And I was looking at the flows or trying to look at the flows, but it was just a flash. It wasn't enough rain. Oh, the one other thing, the modified rational method takes into account multiple storm events. So we can do that too, and I'll show you those calculations. But if there's any other questions.
Well, there's one other thing too,
Yeah.
Ted, similar to what you were saying. So there was a question about the pre-development flow map not following exactly on the contour lines. Well, it doesn't follow the contour lines because in 2006, as we all know, HRW that had developed the prior neighborhood, when they went through their pre-plat here, they clear cut for roads up there. Well, what that did was all that water follows where they cut out those trees. And so you can go up there now and it looks like dry creek beds where those roads are because the water all channels in. So when we did our map, that map with the water flows that doesn't follow a straight line down, that's where the streets are cut because that's where the water flows. And so that tied into our basin. So that's our pre-development, the map that we have for our pre-development basins mimic the current and then our post because our roads are similar to where those were. So that way our flow is going to be similar. But what we're going to do is with that south road, Rock Ridge, that has that 6-inch curb on it, that sheeting water that comes off the hill currently and runs unobstructed down to that neighborhood will no longer be there because it's going to hit that road, go into the basins on the east and the west, correct? And go out as opposed to running straight down. And so that's why we broke that, right? Is that correct, Chris? That's why we broke those basins up because that's where it flows currently. And so our post flow and basins are very similar to the pre because of the fact that those roads were already cut out. If those roads wouldn't have been cut out, it would be a different matter, but you can go up there. I wouldn't advise going up there because it's tick season.
exacerbated.
I went up there a couple weeks ago, got 15 ticks on me. So I wouldn't advise going up there unless you spray down, which I had done before I went anyway. But I've got pictures. They're this deep heavy rock, they're look like dry creek beds where the water's just been running off. So but that was another one of the questions of the map, because it's not following straight down the contour line. It actually follows where the water runs off that hill, because it's an issue. And we're trying to fix that, to address that, not fix it, but we're trying to address it. And our goal is to do as much as we can to limit that water running off that hill down to that neighborhood.
That's right.
By directing it out into the 7 basins.
In a nutshell, the stormwater flowing in the pre-development area is not contained. And after we develop it, it will be contained.
So in the initial phase of work, the drawing doesn't show underground piping, but there will be underground storm piping to channel all that beginning in the early phase of, I mean, as soon as you guys
Minimum, I
start.
believe my minimum pipe size is 18-inch concrete stormwater pipe.
I believe the C1R plan has that shown on it.
Okay.
There'll definitely be,
Because that's the street and drainage
Yeah.
sheet. And so the C1R has the piping, it has the gutter inlets. All of the detention basins are to scale and to the size as reflected in the drainage report on that C1R, because that's the drainage. That's the post-development page that it breaks up the basins and it shows where all the piping that you're talking about is.
But all that'll be built as soon as construction starts. That's not going to be the last phase of work. It's not going
No,
to be.
so we'll be tying into the sanitary sewer south of there. So the way, right, so we've got to tie into that and go up. And so for the sewer, we've got to take the sewer past Rock Ridge Road up to the next road. And the same thing with the water, because you can't put a road in and then put sewer and water underneath the road, right? So we've got to bring all the sewer and water up that we're going to bring up from there before we put in Rock Ridge Road, and then we'll do that drainage
I think
when we do that.
Yeah, I think what you're asking is why we're doing the construction.
Yeah, during construction. Yeah, just
So
make sure that
80
that's not the last
80
thing done.
No, that's the first thing we're doing.
Yeah, ADEQ will require a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And that plan will have to be approved by ADEQ.
But I think, so Rock Ridge Road will be the first thing we put in. And those 2 basins and that drainage. Because we got to get the sewer and water past that. And so we'll do that, and then we'll work north from there.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, is that
Yeah,
what you're asking?
that's right.
Because it's not really a phase in the classic sense or the construction terminology of a phase, but we have to put that road in first because we got to get utilities underneath it, because once you put the road in, you're not supposed to put utilities underneath it.
Right.
Because they are usually not successful if you do it that way. Right?
All right, anything else? Commissioners have any questions?
Concerning the highway issue, I understand, and I talked to the highway department myself. You're not going to get to sight distance on that hill. Highway department told me they're not taking down that hill anymore. They're just going to expand. The new highway is going to be to the west, I guess, side of that. So, but you're agreeing to right turn only,
Yes,
both entrances?
Yes. We put that in the thing that we spent on the 15th.
Yeah.
But they were asking for a right turn only, and I believe the language was, if RDOT designs a dedicated left turn lane that would be designed and constructed by them, that's not us. If they do that, that's on them, but we're asking for a right turn only. That's all we're asking for. If at some point in the future, they do that and they hit all the distances and all that, then that's something that would be in the future, but all we're asking for is a right turn, because it works with the right turn only. The only reason we'd even mention the left is because in April of 2025, RDOT told us that they would do a left. And so we were under that assumption for the last year and 2 months based upon something that they had told us. But as we all know, RDOT plans change up until the point that they start construction, and sometimes they change after they start construction. So we were just going off of that premise, but we don't need the left-hand turn. It doesn't, that left turn out of there does not hurt or harm us either way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Would like to get Joe to maybe respond to some of your comments.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Don.
Thank you.
Joe, if you could just, at a high level, walk us through the,
Sure. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I guess just on a high level to summarize, and feel free to ask me more specific or pointed questions. I think there's two concerns we had. The first, to just briefly touch on the site distance. I think, our recommendations, the right turn is an improvement. I would caution you all to consider the north driveway that sits on the downhill side of the road crest. And so we do have some additional concern over the site distance as you come from the north driveway to turn right. Can you see over that road crest? So we've included a comment in there to have the applicant verify that. When it comes to drainage, as applicant stated, there were some additional comments provided during this last review. A couple of those were just based on new material submitted, as I mentioned, the pre-development drainage area map. Some of the other comments were intended to provide additional clarity to the intent of these reviews and submittals of all the drainage information, which is to meet the city ordinance to regulate the runoff being produced during post-development storm events, and that it's not adversely impacting anybody downstream. And we just don't feel like we think that there's still some information that ought to be provided to demonstrate that. And so the intent of the additional comments was to be very pointed and specific with what exactly we're wanting the applicant to provide, so that we can be comfortable that this development is not adversely impacting anybody downstream.
so Joe, that is the question that they had. They said that there were some 4 or 5 new comments or questions that were asked. They were clarifications on original questions asked. Is that?
Yes, sir. That's the intent. As applicant stated, we met after the last meeting in our office and talked through several different things. But the message is at least intended to convey is that we need to demonstrate pre-development runoff from the site. We need to see what those runoff values are at the different locations as they leave the site, and then to provide the post-development runoff that is coming from the detention pond, so that we can verify that number at those locations is equal to or less than the pre-development values.
In your opinion, are the responses satisfactory to what you guys would like to see in terms of engineering responses, or we need more information, or what?
I think more information is needed, as Mr. Corbett said. I don't think that there's anything that can't be provided or shown to prove this. But I think more information is needed for us to make a recommendation for the commission to approve it.
Commissioners have any questions for Joe?
I'd like to ask Joe a couple of questions myself. So you mentioned time of concentration. So did they provide calculations on how they got time of concentration, or just show you what it was? So there's no way for you
No,
to
sir.
check that?
Provided a table in the report that lists the time of concentrations. However, just in our own review, we're unable to quite back calculate those to say that, yeah, those appear to be,
Okay.
what we're looking for.
So, and then from that time of concentration is very important, because why?
Everything else comes from that.
Okay, so it's no way for you to check that without having what those are, being able to check against that, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. As far as, Chris mentioned the 10-year, they were detaining for 10-year, but what's the Cabot standard for detention?
The Cabot ordinance just says, I've got it specifically quoted, but is no adverse impact downstream. So I think storm sewers are to be sized for a 10-year event.
The 10-year is for the design of the pipe, correct?
For the design pipe, that's the
Yeah.
way I interpret the ordinance. When it comes to detention, a practice is a 100-year event. That's kind of a standard area practice. I don't Don't know that the ordinance is specifically clear to that point. However, it says, that the development will not impact downstream in 100 years, sort of your standard design storm that you'd look at.
Like in a lot of cities around here would design to detain anything less than 100, and 100 seems to overflow a lot of times. But
After 100, it's sort of an industry standard that things are going to sheet flow after 100-year event. Yes, sir.
okay, so your comments here are based on, wanting to see 25, 50, and 100 just to see staged releases from the detention ponds for different type of storms. Correct? So that
Right,
you're
for various
making
storm
sure there's
events,
no-
and those also align with the storm events that were provided in the table in the drainage report. They had provided calculations for post flows for 25, 50, and 100. So we were asking that the pre-development flows for those different rain events are provided and compared against the post-development flows for those various rain events.
I don't know if you have your comments in front of you, but you also commented about some of the discharge leaving the site on the south side that's not detained.
So Rock Ridge Road is the southernmost road up on the plat on the screen. The plat sits on a pretty steep hill. There's a lot of fall. So kind of the middle left of the plat is the high point. And so everything going south of there is falling off pretty steep. Based on the information provided, it would appear that the lots south of Rock Ridge Road, just the contours on the information we have would show that runoff would flow south and not up to Rock Ridge Road and then into the drainage system and detention ponds. They may have additional information that just hadn't been provided to show that, but it based on what we have, that it would appear that runoff's not being calculated or captured.
Or you can't tell if that's been taken into account in their releases from the detention
No,
ponds or anything
based on
like
the
that.
contours, there's some pretty significant fall. It would be very difficult to revert that water back uphill and into the street and into the detention pond.
Okay. So, in your opinion, if this site plan was to move forward, can detention be met with the site plan as it sits today, or do you think that there's probably have to do adjustments to the site plan? Or is it impossible to tell based on size
It'd be
and
very
basins?
difficult for me to make a recommendation at this point on that. So I think that additional information ought to be provided before we could say, move forward.
Could that information be furnished for staff and maybe worked out moving forward, or is that something that you think is really a no-go until that information comes forward?
I guess the question is, could we work this out at a staff level after a
Yes.
commission? I would prefer that that information be provided and that we can confirm that runoff, that the drainage report proved that there's no adverse impact before we make a recommendation to approve this.
Okay. Commissioners have any other questions for Joe? Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Chris or Don, anything else you guys want to add to?
I'd just like to remind the commissioners, this is a preliminary plat, right? Now, I'll let you peek behind the curtains. It's pretty much designed, but if the changes need to be made, then they can easily be made. If they don't approve of the calculations or the way I calculated the time of concentration, then we'll get down to the nuts and bolts of those equations and see what their equations look like, or their results. But the time of concentration is important. Those were calculated. I've got a PE stamp. The public, including you, has a hold of a leash with a collar around my neck. Does everybody understand that? The first canon of a professional engineer is I will protect the health, safety, and public welfare. That's the first standard. And, so, but I welcome another engineer reviewing my work. And, this one doesn't make my stomach hurt. I don't have a scaffolding hanging out of 6th floor of a building over an MRI machine. This isn't a bridge. That, the last structural engineering, equations I did, the entire bridge team up there was reviewing 20 different bridges that we rehabbed, with hydro demolition. I'm not saying that hydrology is easy, but it's not gonna kill somebody. These calculations are, Q is equal to CIA. They want to use the modified rational method, no problem. They want to confirm, that's fine. I don't have a problem submitting that to the engineers and let them review it. This is a preliminary plat, and it's not a final plat. If we want to, I think there's options to table it or conditionally approve it. The calculations are going to be there. I plan on making a living as a PE for a while, so.
The only thing I would say is, so the 2 pages of comments we received yesterday. We visited with Half and Associates 2 weeks ago. Visited with them again last week. None of that was brought to our attention. We had no opportunity to review, revise, or respond to those. If the calculations come up to where we need to make bigger drainage basins or move them or add one, then that's not a big deal. We'll do it. And you know, the math is what the math is. Right? Our goal is to be good neighbors to the people downstream from us, as I said at the beginning and as I've said for the last 2 months. Our goal is to do everything we can to help the problem they have now, which is water running off there like it's in a creek bed. When we finish this, it won't anymore. It will not be running off there like a river. So you know, we would ask that the commission approve it conditionally, conditioned upon us meeting those 2 pages of things and getting the math where the engineers agree, which I wholeheartedly agree, right? Everybody needs to be on the same page. You know, we would ask for that. We would also ask that if that is the case, that we be provided permission to where we can speak to the engineer, because we haven't been able to speak to the engineer because there's a wall or a step between where we can't pick up the phone and stop, because their office is 10 minutes from my house, where I could just pop in and visit with them, and we could get this resolved in a couple of days once Chris gets his computations done, as opposed to the last 2 weeks where if they would have given us this information 2 weeks ago when I met with them, we could have had all this resolved and addressed and submitted on the 15th. Because I visited with them the Monday after the last meeting on the 1st. So I contacted them on the 2nd. Mr. Moore was out of town that week and visited with him the following Monday. And then Chris hopped to it and cranked out the math and got everything ready. And if we would have known there was more stuff, we would have addressed it. I mean, we're doing everything we can to try to address it. However, we would like to be able to expedite that process with open communication and the ability to communicate directly with the engineers so that we can move this forward. Whether that's whether you vote to give us conditional approval conditioned on meeting those requirements, right, which is great, or if you table it as you did last month for us to meet those requirements, right? If either one of those options are the ultimate result, we would ask to have the ability to directly communicate with the engineers to expedite moving this process forward, to get these communications, to get the math done and get everybody on one page. That's what we would ask, Jeff.
Let me ask that question. Laura, is there anything that prohibits them from communicating directly with PAF, or is there a step required?
There's nothing prohibiting them from that, but the typical way of the items being addressed is a letter comes from my office, it goes to the applicant, they submit the revisions back to my office, and then those revisions get sent to the engineer for review. I don't have any problems with them speaking with HAF, but the dime is the city's time that's being used. So when it comes through my office, that way it's being sent to the review engineer to be reviewed that way versus a sit-down meeting in their office that the city's not a part of to adhere
Yeah, makes sense.
is the way that was being communicated, is we weren't putting a wall up to say that you couldn't communicate with the engineer. It's just the city was not going to pay for that communication in person.
Great, thanks.
Sounds like the city of Cabot needs a city engineer.
We do. It's back
Is
there.
there an application? Just kidding.
Well, if that's the case, we can work out a situation where we can pay them. We're trying to expedite this process and get everybody on the same page. And if the financial issue of the city not being able to pay the engineer, right, we can
Yeah, it's for
address
you,
that.
Laura, to work out, so yeah,
Then-
or Joe.
Me and Mr. Coy and Laura and the mayor can discuss that tomorrow and figure out a resolution if that's, but we're just trying to expedite. We're trying to move this forward, get everybody on the same page. That's all we're trying to do. Open and transparent, which I'm sure that's all of your charge. That's what we're trying to do too. We're not hiding anything. We're not keeping anything back. But again, we received 2 pages of comments yesterday that if we would have had those even Thursday of last week, then Mr. Corbett could have had a chance. I'm not saying that he would have worked a miracle, but he could have had a chance to possibly have that done and ready for tonight. But there's no, literally, it's next to impossible, if not impossible, for us to get those at noon yesterday and expect to have 2 pages of calculations and comments done by today. That's just not able to be done. Again, if we'd have had those middle of last week, they would have been a different story. So that's all we're asking. We're just asking to have the ability to get you what you need to make sure that everybody's happy and feels good. That's all we're trying to do.
All right, thank you. Commissioners have any other questions,
Well,
final
Mr.
questions?
Mr. Chairman, it just still seems like there's still some unknowns here and some vagueness. And do we need to communicate, like trying to do with the engineer? Can we set that up and make that happen and get some positive answers of where this water's going? So in saying that, do we need to table this again or bring it up for vote on the preliminary plat?
Open for a move, if you want to make a motion, or
I think I'd make a motion to table it again.
can I get a
Since we've got
motion?
questions that were brought up yesterday or the day before.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a motion to table.
Second.
I got a second from Liz. Any discussion?
Could we add something to that motion? Could we table it indefinitely until all the information that is required is provided to Laura's office so that we're not back here next month with the same questions?
You want to amend your motion to table?
I do, yeah. And I know we need to move along with this too to get your project going.
Yes, Mr. Prater, and as I said earlier,
Can I make a point on
the
what
two
we're looking
items, the two items,
Indefinitely is indefinite.
the 2 items last month that it was tabled on, we addressed.
Right.
And so we addressed those and we came here, right, not indefinitely. We addressed them the next week. We didn't wait. Then we got new things yesterday.
Right.
And so, we would ask for not be indefinite as if it's never going to come back. If we're able to talk to the engineer, we can get this done in the next week. We're not dragging our feet or delaying, right? I don't want this to be indefinite. I don't want to be put on the back burner.
Well, I can agree with
I'd
that.
like there to be,
Let's-
I like a sense of expediency to be part of it as opposed to non-expediency.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to overstep, but
Okay, so you want to make a motion to table to next month?
Yes, sir. I'd like to just amend to just, 1 month table on that.
And a second from
Second.
Liz. And roll call vote, please, Laura.
yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
DeArmond,
Yes.
Young.
Yes. All right, 7-0, that motion passes. It is tabled till next month. All right, we're going to go ahead and end the new business item. We're going to move into public hearing, item 7.
It is 7:43, and Laura, you got that item?
Rezone part of the Southwest Corridor, Section 18, T4 North, Range 9 West, Taft Street and King Drive, R1 to R4M, Bond Consulting Engineers. All right, this is a rezone request that is located, part of the property is located, has frontage on Taft Street, and then part of the property has frontage on King Street. They are requesting a rezone from R1 Single Family to R4 Medium Density rezone. They are proposing, with this rezone, they've supplied a sketch that would propose 2 duplex units, one having access on Kings Drive, the other having access on Taft Street. Again, this property is just a little over half an acre in size. This is a rezone request that they are asking to rezone again from single family to R4 medium density proposal. The applicant is here. If you have any questions for him, or if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Laura. Commissioners have any questions for Laura? All right, is the applicant present?
Good afternoon. Thank you all for letting me be here today. I think Laura did an excellent job explaining this. If y'all have any questions for me, I'll be more than glad to answer them.
Commissioners? None? All right, thank you, Aaron. Anyone here to speak for or against this item? All right, seeing none, commissioners? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
You got a motion to approve from Commissioner Lowe. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second from DeArmond. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Owen,
Yes.
DeArmond,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Knack,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Young.
Yes. All right, 7-0, motion passes. Rezone is approved. Let's go to item B, Laura.
Waiver, Lot 1, Bluebird Edition, detention waiver, Bond Consulting Engineers. Okay, so you may remember from last month, seeing this piece of property, you did approve a site plan for this piece of property for 3 triplex units. The applicant is coming back asking for a waiver on detention to not have to install detention. As you can see in the staff report, I think, and Joe can address this a little bit better than I can myself. Aaron did propose or submit stormwater comments or drainage report for this. And then Aaron, I'm gonna let you get into that as far as what your drainage report states and shows as far as whether detention is needed for this property. And then if anybody has any questions for you, and then Half is here to address any questions that y'all have for them as well.
All right, thank you, Laura. Aaron?
All right, thank you all once again. So this piece of property was actually submitted before you all about 1 year and 4 months ago. At that time, Joe, I don't believe, was the engineer for Half. And when this project actually came before you, Half at that time had agreed that detention was not required. So when we resubmitted it, because the year had lapsed, we just said, hey, this is in the floodplain or abuts the floodplain, don't want to do detention in the floodplain. One of the comments that came back, and I apologize for not being here last month, I just couldn't make it, but one of the comments that came up before the meeting last month was detention. If you'll remember, a couple of months ago, you had another engineer come before you all. Basically, he gave you the same spiel I'm going to give you, that you don't detain in a floodplain area. It changes the hydrograph. The peak of the hydrograph is at a later time. And one of the comments is, what will this have an adverse effect on the downstream property? The downstream property is Holland Bottom's farm. There's not a subdivision, there's not houses, there's nothing downstream of this other than a farm. So it crosses Fantastic Drive, and then at Fantastic Drive, it goes under Bill Foster. So, what I did was I prepared, kind of like the engineer that came before y'all a couple of months ago, I prepared a drainage report and an area for detention. The wording in the report was kind of ambiguous, because we do not feel like, as a professional engineer, that you detain inside a floodplain. I mean, that's just, in my professional opinion, that you don't do it. There's studies out there that say you do, there's studies out there that say you don't. It just depends on what study you want to go with. So I did prepare a drainage report. I did create a detention area. And I feel like, so the report says it's not needed, but we are providing it. So the site plan you all approved actually did not have that detention area in it. And so if you don't grant the waiver, I'll just have to redo my site plan to show that detention area. But I'm gonna leave the report the same. I'm gonna leave it where, in my professional opinion, it's not warranted because of where it is in the floodplain. We might provide it, but I don't believe it's warranted.
Okay.
If you had any questions.
Thank you, Aaron. Anyone?
There's a sketch in the packet we received.
Correct.
Is that what you propose for detention? It's
Yes.
just simply grading the yard?
The back of
Yeah.
behind it. Yes, sir.
Creating a berm to contain the flow.
Yeah, and your comments from, I believe, half were they would like to see your calculations based on modeling the basin to see how it affects the peak and.
Well, one of their comments was, yes, to do a HEC-RAS model. I would say that was not required for the previous applicant that y'all granted a waiver for. Running a HEC-RAS model on a basin is no cheap or easy task. You know, this is an acre and a half. I always like to give the analogy of, you know, you take a bottle of water and you pour it in Greer's Ferry Lake. I mean, an acre and a half is
Understood.
not a 40-acre tract of land you're trying to.
So is this the last developable property? I mean, or there looks to be a whole lot of property in this basin right there that could be developed that's still gonna flow to the same crossing.
Well, but the controlling factor of everything is the highway, Bill Foster. So everything that's going to develop is on the other side where the aquatic center is, if anything goes down that way. But that's all, you know, right now it's all farmland. Will it develop? Quite possibly. When will that be? I can't answer that. I know on the other side of the highway, you all approved a rezone of a bunch of property for development, but that's the other side where it's not in the floodplain.
Different basin too,
Correct.
not this basin.
Correct.
So, I mean, we could argue all day on whether to detain in floodplains or not detain in floodplains, and I tend to agree with you in a lot of situations. I don't know if this is one of those that I would. I mean, I think the one you're referring to was over at Austin, 38.
It's that intersection of 21,
Yeah,
38.
and they were dumping directly into 4 Mile Creek, which has a 15 or 16.
Well, 4 Mile Creek is actually on the other side of 38. If they weren't dumping directly into it,
So they were dumping into a box culvert that goes directly into that. They were the first property there. So I do remember that. And they did do calculations showing the peak flow into there.
and I've done all the same thing. They did the calculations for the pre and post development, which are the same calculations I did. They did not do a HEC-RAS model. But I mean, all we're asking is.
I think you're gonna get into this if we approve these, well, we did it last time, and there's the properties right next to this one, next to this one, and next to this one, they're all in the same basin. that people are gonna develop and come right back in here next week and say, you did it for this one, I want that one. So that's my concern here. This is very minimal to detain.
It's just, you gotta remember, you start taking all these little bitty tracks and you detain them all, you're actually changing the peak discharge, and you could actually start flooding the downstream property because you're holding it and you're discharging it at a later time. So you start taking a bunch of individual small pieces and you start detaining individual small pieces and delaying that peak discharge, it could actually change the hydrograph curve and actually affect the downstream flooding.
And it actually could not. So, I mean, we could do the what ifs and.
You're right, but there's studies that show there can. So anyway, I mean, you all get to vote. I'm just pleading my case.
There's a pretty good sized culvert under Kerr Station Road, correct? And a creek that runs, what, east?
It runs, it runs southwest. It comes from, yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming from the north side, northeast side of Kerr. It comes down through there. Can't remember the name of the church that's over there. It's all coming from that area.
From the school, right?
Is it
The school,
running?
yes.
Southside Elementary, essentially, it's the top of this basin.
That's where it's all coming from.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Any other questions? I want to get Joe's opinion on the strange calcs here. Sure. Joe?
So the intention behind this, I'll try to address a few things that were said. What we look at when we review a drainage plan is to look at the pre-development flow off of the site. And the intention is that after the site's developed, the post-development flow is no greater than pre. So if you don't detain, then post-development flow is greater than pre, or at least we ask engineers to verify that with their submittals. There's, to use the term that was stated before, there's those what-if scenarios, and when you hold back that water, is water from the rest of the watershed, if it all rains at the same time, coming down, and that water hits the same time that this water that was detained is being released into the detention, causing a rise in the total runoff draining from the basin. That is a what-if scenario. That's the reason that HECRAS modeling is mentioned. I do agree that HECRAS modeling is above and beyond what you do for something like this. But the problem is you can't verify that what-if scenario without running those kind of complicated models. So really, the base level ask is just provide detention, showing that your post-development runoff is equal to or less than your pre-development. In that scenario where you've detained post-development runoff and it's draining out at the same time that the rest of the basin's flow is hitting, and so you'd have a higher runoff for the whole basin, it actually require you to detain even more so that your post-development runoff from that detention is maintained to pre-development. So again, there's a lot of controversy and not controversy, but that's a heavily discussed item in the drainage community. It's our recommendation that this site just provide the detention as the applicant is included in their drainage report. I think that takes the what if out of the scenario.
All right. Any questions for Joe? All right. Thank you, Joe. Since this is a public hearing, I guess I'm supposed to ask for those to speak for or against this item on the waiver of detention for this area. Anyone? It's a kind of unique variance request. All right, seeing none, commissioners, have any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
A motion to approve from Commissioner Lowe, to a second.
Second.
Second from DeArmond. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Byrd,
No.
Prater,
No.
O'Gwen,
No.
Knapp,
No.
DeArmond,
No.
Lowe,
No.
Young.
No. All right, 0-7, motion fails. All right, it is 7:58, and we will go ahead and close the public hearing and move into Planning Commission new business. And Laura, you got the first item?
Replat lots 47A and 47B, Briarwood Estate subdivision, Tucker surveying. Okay, so this is a replat of a piece of property that is located in the Briarwood Estates. It is located, it actually has frontage along Willie Ray Drive and some along Briarwood Loop. They are proposing this lot to go from a two-platted lot into one, which would be 47A and 47B. The 47A would be just under an acre in size, and the 47A would be just under an acre in size, and lot 47B would just be a little over half an acre in size. As you can see in the staff report, there were a few outstanding comments. I did speak to the applicant prior to the meeting on a couple of the items, and the applicant is going to supply me a few items that can address some of the right-of-way issue, and they're going to provide an easement for the utilities as well. So a couple of these items I did address with the applicant. So if you have any other questions in the staff report, I can address them. The applicant is here if you have any questions for him.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions for Laura? All right, seeing none, is the applicant here? If you would come up and state your name.
Nick Tucker, Tucker Surveying. As you can see on this one, one of the main comments that staff had was about the right-of-way. We show an existing public right-of-way with a radius on the plat. Staff was unable to locate the recorded version of the plat. It has since been sent to Laura to show the public right-of-way is already in existence. We didn't have a lot of time on these comments, so I did make a little Google Earth sketch that shows that there is an existing road in place. And I'll just put this up here to pass it around. So lot 46 and 47 are both access off of the 30-foot right-of-way that's shown. The curve of the road is about 200 foot west of there. And a public right-of-way was extended to the east with a small road bed built with drainage structures. So lot 46 is currently using this road bed slash public access. We're just asking to use the same at the end of it. All utilities are in place. Everything else can be met.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve from Commissioner Prater. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Byrd. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
DeArmond,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Young.
Yes. 7-0, motion passes. All right, next item, Laura.
Final plat, R-Care West Edition, Davidson Engineering. Okay, so this is a final plat for a commercial lot that is located along Highway 5. They are proposing to construct a two-lot commercial subdivision with this. This was originally just over 4.5 acres in size. They are proposing to divide them into two lots, for lot 1 to be just under 3 acres in size, and lot 2 with an existing building to be about 1.5 acres in size. As you can see in the staff comments, there are just two minor comments that are needed to be outstanding or are outstanding, which one of them is certifications that can be addressed after, if this is approved tonight. If you have any questions for me, I can answer them. The applicant is here if you have any questions for them on this item.
All right, thank you, Laura. Questions for Laura? Is the applicant here? You would come up and state your name.
Good evening. I'm Jason Boutnick with Davidson Engineering. Like Laura pretty much summed it up, but two comments we have on this. One is add plat lines, or setback lines. We've added all those lines. The only lines that aren't shown is the side setbacks, which if you look at the zoning, it is determined by the fire marshal. Fire marshal has not given us what their setbacks are, so therefore, there's no setbacks on there at this time. That's the only comment that's outstanding is that, because we got the front and the rear setbacks on the plat, both in the notes and in the, on the drawing. And in the notes, we also have the comment about the fire marshals said that, the side setbacks when it does not abut residential. And of course, this site's sitting right on the city limits, so part of it's outside city limits, so there's no zoning information, which if you look outside the city limit or right there behind it or to the side on Highway 5, it looks like it's commercial property also, so therefore it's all commercial. So we assume that there's no side setbacks unless the fire marshal states otherwise.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Laura, is that outside of our planning?
This is actually in the city limits. He's referring to the actual property
Adjacent.
line. The
Okay.
adjacent properties are outside the city limits.
Okay. All right. Commissioners have any questions? If not, I entertain a motion to approve with staff comments. Motion to approve with staff comments. Motion from Commissioner Lowe. Do I have a second? Second. Second from Knapp. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Lowe,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
DeArmond,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Young.
Yes. 7-0, motion passes. We'll go to the next item of business. Laura?
Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself.
All right. Noted that Knapp recused himself.
Okay, preliminary plat, Carmel Ridge, Lemons Engineering Consultants. Okay, so this is a preliminary plat for a subdivision development that is just over 4 acres in size, that is located on Highway 319, Highway 321, also known as Mount Carmel Road, and along Diedrich's Lane. They are proposing a private street access on Mount Carmel Road for a 15 residential lot subdivision and 2 common areas. There will be ingress egress access off of Diedrich's Lane, but it will be for only emergency use only. As you can see in the staff report, there are some outstanding items related to some drainage infrastructure that is existing in the subdivision that is to the north of this development, and then some drainage comments related to the proposed drainage that is being installed. The applicant is here to address you as well. There are a few water comments that need to be addressed as well, but if you have any questions for me, I can answer them. If not, Mr. Lemons and the applicant are at the podium for you.
All right, thank you, Laura. Any questions for Laura? Drainage is the hot topic tonight.
It sure is.
All right, Mr. Lemons.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just kind of bring you up to date on what the drainage issues are. There are 2 culverts that go underneath Highway 321 that discharge onto this property. They're 2 18-inch culverts. There's a 12-inch culvert that discharges just north of our property across Diedrich. There's an 18-inch culvert that is collecting the water from these two 18s and this 12 that's inside the Silver Street subdivision. So I'm not sure how that all went about. We're kind of like, the last one gets to turn the light out, you might say. But we have run the numbers, and the culvert that is going through Silver Street does have pretty good capacity on it because it is laid at about a little over 3% grade, which is kind of unusual. But we've checked. We don't know of any record of there being any drainage issues due to that culvert that's in Silver Street, and it's been there for some time, as well as these other culverts. What we're doing in our detention pond is we're catching the increase. So therefore, what you're getting now going towards that 18-inch culvert is actually a little bit more than what you're going to get when we get through with construction. But I understand the comments. I'd be more than glad to get further deep into this if I need to, but just wanted to tell you what we're up against, which is really not that big a deal.
So I've got a question. How are you going to take the drainage that comes across Highway 321 underground through a pipe and offset it, jog it, and take it back over to Silver Street subdivision? Right. We're going to let the existing water that's coming across 321, it's going to follow the natural way that it's going right now. We're just going to put it in a pipe so that. Well, that cuts through lot 7 and 8. Yes, but I mean, we've got easements in there and culverts to go around those home sites. Right, to go around we're going to go around the lot lines, but it's the same general route.
So where are you discharging? I mean, because I'm looking at the natural drainage
Right.
on here, and
If you will
it's
look
the middle
at
of a lot,
the,
so.
if you'll look just off of our site, let's see, that would be, there is a ditch that runs parallel to our north boundary, there in that northeast corner. And where we have our easement between those two lots that comes up to our north property line, that's where that culvert is that we're discharging into.
Yeah, I see that, but to Lowe's comment, I mean,
it's
it's right through lot 7 and 8 is right where the current ditch is today, right in the
We're just
middle of
gonna
it.
route it around, and we thought it was a pretty good idea to try to keep it out of our detention area. No need of detaining it if we didn't have to. And then our detention area is self-supportive of just what we're adding to the watershed.
Yeah, I still don't know if I understand. I mean, it looks like you're going
Clear
to
as mud,
capture
I
it
know.
and you're going to do a Z shape, like you're going to go between lot 6 and 7 up and turn left under the road and go north to tie into that 18-inch culvert.
Keep in mind that Z pipe you're talking about, that's a closed system. We're not introducing any new water into it. We're just taking it and sending it through the property.
But that is
Everything we've got is going to go across our lawns in our street and go down to our detention area.
Yeah, but that is the shape of the pipe that it's going to be a Z shape, right?
Well, not a harsh Z, it's kind of a 45.
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's not a 90 and 90. More like a 60 and 60.
So the natural drainage right now runs off of lot 8 and hits the back fences there and then goes west. That help?
Yes, if you'll look right to the south of lot 7, that is where the two culverts come in Highway 321. And then we have, we're catching that water and we're running it between 7 and 8 to a junction box, turning it northwesterly to a junction box between 9 and 10, and lining that up with where it's eventually getting to right now.
Okay. So my question is about the existing drainage. Looks like it goes off of lot 8 right now. Is that not the lowest spot?
That's right.
There's some, if you'll look like it actually has some of those that were filled. Yeah, kind of this sheet flows down in the corner. But there is some that goes off of that. But it all goes into that corner up there where the back of lot 9 and 10, that's the.
That's what I was asking. So that water that's going off lot 8 is making its way back to lot 10. Okay. And I'm assuming these common areas are your detention?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners have any other questions?
Mr. Lemons, you make mention of it, exit going out on Dietrich there,
Yes.
just being for emergencies. Is they gonna have a gate on it or?
Yes,
or lock
with a Knox
box?
box.
Okay.
Did you get a chance to review this one as well? Any comments? Any comments about the proposed design?
Or just to follow up with Mr. Woodman's comments, that existing 18-inch, as he demonstrated through calculations, is, appears to be undersized. How that all came to be over time is probably a mystery to all of us. His post-development runoff is less than his pre, so that comment 5 that's talking about how that outfall pipe is undersized for all the water running to it. It's really to bring acknowledgement to that, and is a suggestion to try to mitigate that. However, I'm not sure that we can request that this development provide mitigation for the outfall pipe. What he is doing is mitigating the change in runoff from pre to post, which has kind of been the discussion point tonight. Comment 6 was about the pipe that is being proposed to convey water that is coming under Highway 321, and then bypassing the side and filling in the ditch, if you will, to outfall into the existing 18-inch outfall pipe. Our recommendation on that was to size that pipe not based on the existing capacity of the pipes coming underneath Highway 321, but rather the drainage area that is draining to that. I can't say whether the pipes under Highway 321 are sized adequately or not. So our recommendation was to look at the actual, delineate the drainage area, say this is the amount of water coming to that point. And that way, that 24-inch pipe is at one day proven to be undersized like the 18-inch pipe is. So that's really the comment that I'd like to see be addressed.
And we'll be glad to do that. Yes, sir. Provide those calculations.
Sure, thank you.
I probably, in fact, I would have had those to you, but kind of got something.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Appreciate those comments.
Thank you.
Did Bobby and his group have a chance to review the fire department access and any other questions from commissioners?
As far as what he recommended is upsizing the new pipe for the water that's coming in. Is that something that we need to put in our staff reports? I mean, I know you said.
Actually, Ms. Bird, I think what he's wanting me to do is to verify. What I did was I took the capacity of the two culverts that are underneath 321,
Okay.
and we used that to size the 24. All he's asking me to do is to go one step further and make sure that the drainage area on the south side of 321 going into those 18 is being accounted for.
Okay.
So I feel like we're going to fall somewhere around where we are, but I see his point. It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, I entertain a motion. Motion to approve with staff comments. Motion to approve, Commissioner Lowe, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Byrd. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
DeArmond,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, motion passes 6-1. All right, next item of business, Laura.
Chairman, I'll need to recuse from this item.
All right, we'll note that. Chairman Lowe, or Vice Chair Lowe.
All right, site plan, Rolling Hills Country Club, Vance Harper. Okay, so as you can see in this staff report, this is a site plan approval for the Rolling Hills Country Club proposing a new building. Their entire overall property is just under 108 80 acres in size. However, this site that they're just proposing for this building is just over half an acre in size. They have access along Mount Carmel Road. Again, they're asking for a site plan to construct a new clubhouse later this year. As you can see in the staff report, one of the outstanding items was relating to the septic system. But the septic system, as the response has shown, has not been designed yet. So once that's been designed, they will provide that information before a building permit would be issued. Other than the other items that are yellowed in the staff report, everything else has been addressed. If you have any questions for me, I can answer them. If not, there is an applicant here to address any comments that you may have.
All right, thank you, Laura. Is the applicant here? Here, it's gonna be real tough on him. All right.
Drainage.
Chairman and Commissioners. So this is just Rolling Hills is planning to replace the 60-year-old clubhouse. Essentially, the footprint is maintained very close to the same. The building will be one larger building versus 3 smaller buildings that we're taking down. Going back to the same footprint, not really increasing anything as far as parking or changing the use. It's just a redo of the building, make it a little bit nicer, more usable. And Laura mentioned the sewer issue. We are currently on a septic system out there. There is not sewer readily available to us. Our plan is to, well, we're working on a couple different plans. So we would love to tie into a sewer system, and there is one that is just south of us we have an opportunity to possibly tie into. There are some parameters that we're working through on that to see if we're able to tie into what that changes for that system. And then if that's not possible, we have 180 acres. We're very comfortable that we can design a septic system into our driving range that will handle the flow and percolation that we need to get Department of Health approvals. Mr. Applicant, what's the budget on this one? Has it been bid out yet, or is it, does that bid documents yet? We do not have final cost on it yet. Oh, okay. Just curious. No, we are working on that. Meets our commercial standards. It's in the 1.4, 1.5 range, would be. Okay. For the building. Is it going to require the demo of all those buildings, like the existing pro shop? The plan, if we get approval here and we're ready to go, the plan would be to come in September 1st after kind of the peak season, the pool closes, to tear everything down. We'll close the club for a week or so and get everything moved out of there. The contractor will put fences up around and then come in and build the clubhouse during the wintertime. So when it's done, it'll be pool, clubhouse, not all those ancillary buildings. That's correct. Fences and all that. Yes. Commissioners, think of any other grilling questions for this guy? Come on, y'all. All right. Thank you, Ron. Thank you. If I entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve. A motion from Commissioner O'Gwen.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please, Laura.
Byrd.
Yes.
Knack.
Yes.
DeArmond.
Yes.
O'Gwen.
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
Young.
Yes. 6-1, motion passes. All right, we have moved to community input. And now's the time if anyone from the community has any questions or comments you want to address the Planning Commission, please do so. I'd like to limit it to about 3.5 minutes.
All right, Chairman, Commissioners, appreciate y'all having me here again. I just want to go ahead and quickly state, Mr. Overton came by and visited me last week. He provided me with a report that was provided to the city, and I appreciate that. He answered a multitude of my questions about drainage and his plans, and that was good. I appreciate y'all giving the due diligence and asking the right questions and making sure we got all the answers beforehand. Definitely appreciate that. I learned quite a bit here today. I only have one question. Of all the information that we're planning on getting together, one thing, I think it would be good for our neighbors, and would definitely make me feel better, is that, this is a printout just off of Google Maps, I did it today, of the neighborhood that, Terra Verde is planning on putting in just above ours. So this is our developed property here. This is my home here in this bubble here next to the New Life Church. If you were to see it up close, you'd notice, in Google Maps, or if you look in the map that was pulled up earlier, that the street that, would eventually be developed through this property, it appears to run straight down, and you would see why myself, my wife, our neighbors would be concerned about drainage and runoff and those kind of things. It just appears, without knowing any of the details, it would appear as if this is what we're gonna expect from up on the hill, and that's why that'd be concerning. I understand there's some different elevations, in there, and so, there's some factors and things, but Mr. Overton, discussed those with me and cleared those things up. One of the things that he clarified for me is where after the detention ponds do what they're designed to do and they capture everything, that also whatever excess water, rain, runoff or drainage is gonna be deviated far to the east, and that would be over here behind and far to the east side of the New Life Church and the Crestview Senior Living Facilities, or just in between those. And there'd be a large culvert there that it's gonna connect to, and it would drain off there. I did not see that in the documents that were provided to me. I trust what he told me is true, but it would be nice to hear it from the city or from the engineers in the documents that are provided maybe next month's report, that's addressed, it's looked at, and it's clearly lined out exactly like where that drainage would go from there. And I think that's the only thing I have. I feel like that is reasonable, and that's my question to you. Is that reasonable to request that is being shown in the documents that are provided when the decision is finally made or before you made that decision?
Yeah, Laura, how does that work for public access to developed projects that go through the city?
As far as them to see them?
Mm-hmm.
So once an item is submitted, it is public access for anybody to request it. So if this resident would like that information, if you just want to provide me your email address, I can absolutely provide you the information that's submitted.
Okay. I appreciate that. And again, my name is Jeff Allen, and I live over at 605 Oakview Drive. I apologize for not stating that earlier, but that's my only question. Everything else was answered here. I appreciate y'all. I think that's an important piece.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, see you guys next month. We adjourn.